Well, hello, hello. We are back again for another Other Ink Thursday. That's where I, Matthew Orr of Wet Ink Games, talk to some other creators about their own ink. And this time I am joined by the creative force that is Gossamer Coast, RobbiABurns, and Tyler Lamb. Thank you so much for being on my show.
Of course. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having
Yeah.
us. And we are missing our third right now, but we do have
A third member,
one more piece of the force,
Kelsey.
All right. You
it's
got
like a three force or something.
like
A
some kind of
third force.
tri-force of
Yeah,
some sort.
something.
Oh, that's
Some force.
good.
Yeah,
We should use
use
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I saw that I was looking at your Kickstarter page just a second ago for the thing that we're probably going to spend a lot of time talking about, Hinterlight. Multiple co-creators, and then you have some support staff, and it's great to see like a team. It takes a team to
Yeah,
make
absolutely.
these
Yeah.
things,
It
even
makes it
if
easier for sure.
right, spread the work around. Um, so I always like to ask, like why games? Like you could be doing anything, right? Like why is it games that you want to do? Like where does that start? Like what is
So
your
the
earliest sort of like, oh, this is a game? And then
right.
That's
a
a great
similar
question.
related question is like, oh, but I could make one of these. Like there's
Yeah, yeah,
sort of
yeah.
two levels of being drawn into this hobby. So like where does it start for you?
I got into RPGs just doing like trad gaming. For like 4E was my introduction. I was just running
Nice.
for friends in college basically. And I had sort of just gotten um, into the OSR movements when my band was putting out an EP, and I was like, "Hey, like the music that we were making." Robbie was also in the band. We were in the, it was our band
Wait,
making.
you had a
Sorry,
second
yeah,
band?
yeah, my bad.
You had a second different band the whole time.
Yeah, and with the like the EP itself had a lot of like sort of nautical themes to it and was built around sort of like a lot of art. It was about making art and what that feels like in a lot of ways.
It was like serendipitously wound up having all these same themes that we like kind of retroactively were like, oh shit, let's just like make this a thing.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was like, I want to make a little like a little island adventure that would like fit into the sleeve of
Mm,
our
mm.
CD. That ended up not working, but it sort of expanded out into Glimmer's Rim, and we had been for the last like 5 or 10 years, probably more than five and less than 10, been doing comics, and it was very fun, but not very rewarding on the attention side of things because we couldn't get anyone to read our comics. But we kickstarted that little adventure that I did for the EP, and it became Glimmer's Rim, and it was immediately pretty popular through Zine Quest, and that was kind of a intense uh encouragement to hey do this because people bought Glimmer's Rim basically, and I was like okay,
Yeah,
well
yeah,
this is a thing where if I make this kind of art, people will look at it. They will
yeah,
actually read this and look at the art and buy the thing, and
yeah.
that has been sort of the path.
Yeah, I don't remember how I became aware of Glimmer's Rim. You may have given it to me at
I
a
think we
con
gave you a
years
copy
ago.
at PAX. Yeah.
Uh, but like I read it and I was like, this slaps. I mean, that like the it's like the for me, it's like the perfect mix of like kind of like okay, here's the stat blocks, here's the plot points, like go do all the things and all the different hexes, but also there's this unhinged sort of like attitude that is partly the art being so sketchy and stretched kind of weird layers but then also like it's combining things that I'd never seen combined before like so yeah, I mean you say like you finally found like an avenue to like make something that people wanted to pay attention to like yeah, I mean that was like, oh, this is something to pay attention to. These creators like can make something because this is something I want to look at, you know. Um,
It was
so
also like
that was my experience with
yeah.
it anyway. So yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it also felt cool like making a like we love comics and we still love comics but it felt really cool to be making something that was not like purely 100% just like entertainment value. It was like we were also making something that like was a tool, so it felt like
Mm,
we were like being useful and like providing a service, and that
Yeah.
became like actually a really easy sell to people. And so like yeah, it made us feel better doing that. And we also I got really excited whenever Tyler was like, "Oh, yeah, there's these things called TTRPG zines," and I was like, he was like, "Can we try a thing?" I was like,
they're
"I guess." I got
they're
excited about that
24
because
pages, just like a comic book.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I was coming off the heels from going to the Illustration Academy in Kansas City at the time, which was like a little 2 week summer thing that I did after school, and I had been working for a while and stuff. But they were very into like experimentation and doing like lots of weird shit, and like it made me rethink of illustration as like a role of an illustrator more as like a mad scientist
Mm,
than like an artist or whatever or like a designer. And with comics, you got to do like shit has to make sense. You got to like put stuff in perspective and things need to look right. And there's an exact science, and all that is very fun and rewarding. Um, but with TTRPGs, it's like you just got to blast a vibe. That sounds really fun to do, and it sounds like it's an opportunity to experiment with a lot of different crazy shit art wise, and that really got me like extremely interested in this space kind of right off the bat too.
yeah.
Sure,
I
like when you're making a comic, I write a script and then I'm like, here's some thumbnails, and Robbie might be able to be like, I have a better way to like, I have a better angle on this panel than what you sketched here, or I think I've got different panel layouts. But when it's a TTRPG, it's like, here's what's on this spread and what it's supposed to do. It needs some cool art and it needs to be communicated well.
Yeah,
And I mean, I do layout stuff, but Robbie is like the first gate to making sure that like information is conveyed clearly
yeah, it's a lot of
uh
like push and pull,
because
like
of how much we
yeah,
integrate the art for sure.
yeah.
And so that is, I think, it is more, the collaboration feels more uh at the same time as opposed to like consecutive.
Yeah.
yeah.
I can see that. I mean, I'm a big fan of comics, especially like everything that's not superhero comics. And
Yeah.
so I read
I
a
feel
lot
you.
of, well, I mean, it's just like it's a different sort of comics creators that are working in that space are creating stuff that doesn't have to meet the demands of, Warner Brothers or
Yeah.
Disney,
Yeah.
like so it's a more expressive, interesting space, I find. And so like but that like you were saying, like it has to go in sequence. Usually there's the script, and then the script gets past the
Mhm.
artist, and then the artist either like, yes sir, I'll draw exactly what you said, or if you know each other, you can kind of develop that more collaborative sort of like, let's do this, and I want to draw this, great, I'll put that in the script, and you can develop those sort of partnerships more. But then like that's just to like background my brain of
Mhm.
like what you already said, but then like the
Yeah.
TTRPG stuff is like even more that way, where it's like there is no script first, then it goes to art. It's like it is more, I don't know. I've never thought of that comparison specifically before, right? About like how an artist and
Yeah.
a writer can collaborate in TTRPGs like that.
And it is like with the comic stuff, like there was, I mean, we would sit down and be like, what's the coolest way to show this sometimes? But with especially Hinterlight more than anything else, um, like whenever we got a new project on our plate, usually like one of us, the three of us is like a project lead. Tyler's absolutely like the one for Hinterlight. But I mean, we do get all these like fun, cool moments that are uh like writer's roomy a little bit,
Mm,
and like let's help you populate this table together, or like let's like figure out what's fun together. Let's like do a play test in real time. Let's like I don't know. And so like the writer's room aspect, like it's very fun to like be yelling cool ideas over each other. And there's like a kind of there during the best moments, there's like a fun frenetic energy to
mm.
like uh like this spontaneous kind of like creation of it, and then Tyler takes all of it and like goes into his hole and makes it a thing.
Tries to hammer it into
Um,
shape, yeah.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, those kinds of like writers' room moments did definitely like did not exist in the same way as uh for comics, which uh yeah, it's more of a roller coaster with games. Like it's yeah, there it has like there's you know a corollary to like things can get frustrating sometimes, but like the highs also feel a lot higher. So like it's
Mm.
like I don't know, it's kind of more exciting in that respect.
So I got one more question to ask about like comics in comparison to zine making RPG zines. And that is like about the story part of it, because obviously a comic is telling a story. You've got like thing one happens for B reason and it is bored out in C result, and then that's the end of the comic, right? And then, but like you talked before about like setting up a toolkit that other people can use, or something to that effect. You said a phrase like that, and that is kind of the I it's such a difference where like you don't have to answer your own mysteries, right? Like you could set up a
Right.
bunch of stuff and then like you put it in the on the table and be like, now you get to figure out whatever you want to do with all of that. Like we haven't told you anything. We haven't resolved any of these setups. It's a very different way of writing, and I don't know if that. I mean, it's. I think there's a debate a little bit about like which is, I mean, I don't want to get into like better or anything like that, but there is like, it is different to like complete a story as opposed to lay out a bunch of pieces that then other people get to play with. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I don't know if you have found the same thing, or, if that's been a source of like, oh, but I just want to like end the story sometimes. You long for the resolution part, or you're inspired by the not having to, like that final step where then the players take your toys and finish the story for you, you know. I don't know. How
Right.
do you think about that in comparison to each other,
I
the
think
two styles?
I think it's interesting. I think definitely think that in the stuff that we've made that is more of just this is like an adventure to be run, Glimmer's Rim, um, uh, Candleberry Jam, a few of the other stuff that we've made a few more adventures that are just like this is a thing to be run with a game. I am kind of like if I am sowing seeds, I do want to at least present to the GM within the book one reasonable resolution that they can extrapolate outwards from, right? So I do think there is still some of that like I think like in Glimmer's Rim, I do a lot of yeah, there's just like locations that are sowing the seeds of there's like oh, there's this like cult that's trying to bring the god back to life. And it is mostly
As
just
they
like
do.
yes, exactly. That's their favorite thing to do. And yeah, it's mostly is just like seeds of different things going on what these different groups of people are doing that might end up on that. But I was like, oh, and I've got to have a page. It's like here are like the three most likely things that I think that can happen. And I think from that you can take that and go like whatever your players do, it probably like means a little bit of one of these and a little bit of another or whatever. When it comes to Hinterlight is it's an interesting one because it is like it is strictly our newest game is a collaborative role building game that is meant to like be the start of a thing and then the whole game is like being built at the table together later, so we really can't like do anything other than like add some pretty good hooks for you to build your own start and into a story on. But I think the thing that takes over there is like just information flow is like the commonality between comics and like
Mm.
when you're looking at a comic page, you need to make sure that they hit the bubbles in the right order so that they're getting the information right and that they're looking at this dude's face before they read this person's response. And I think in the same way, like figuring out what order to tell people to like do this process, and then once you get on a page to page level, like make sure that they don't get lost on the page. That is its own kind of storytelling, a
Yeah.
lot more boring of a storytelling, but it is like, and it needs to be something in the background. But I
Well,
think that is, yeah,
it's about information flow. I love that idea that like, comparing where the random roll table comes and where the plot point is dropped, like this
Yeah.
character appears as an NPC here, and then if you've already 7 pages later, you're like, if you've already met this NPC, you can like do this thing because you'll already have that information. Like that is the flow of the bubbles. Like you have to read the text bubbles, like you have to read the
Yeah.
text balloons, I guess they're called. It's thought bubbles and text balloon or speech
Okay.
bubbles. Anyway, it
Speech.
doesn't matter. The uh
Yeah.
moving through the book in that way, the information that the as the consumer of the media is experiencing is something that is another that's so yeah, I mean, thinking about that, and
Oh,
I think it
yeah.
especially is important when you talked about you being said OSR and like again I've seen Glimmer's Rim and I'm familiar with that adventure. It is in that OSR style that's like been so influenced by the like splatter punk sort of layouts that are sort of they're not universal, but they're very strong in that sort of like all the rules are off because we're doing whatever we want kind of
Yeah.
thing. And so like still being able to use the product and understand it is something to think about. So yeah,
Yeah, so whenever you first mentioned this, I thought for a moment you were talking about like structuring. I thought you were talking about sequence in terms of experiencing the plot.
I think that
mhm.
is what he was asking about.
Oh,
I took
okay.
that shit.
But now you're also talking about like the like information sequence of the book, like on a meta level, and I'm like,
Well,
yeah,
it's
those are both.
happening on both things, like it all
Yeah,
plays
yeah.
together, right? Like the plot and the layout and the art
Mhm.
and all of it has to be readable. And there's a lot of layers of art and thinking about it to that. And
Yeah.
I think I don't usually talk about like layout structure or anything like that, but it is important, and especially because we started this conversation talking about comics, like that is so important in comics, and I think that does carry over into games,
I
especially in that
yeah.
especially when you're not running. I've read some, I read all kinds of games. I read one that was very like, here's chapter one, it's the history of the world. It's divided into three sections, and then each one has like very square layout with like an image at the top of like, this is the cityscape of the thing that I'm talking about on the
Right,
same page.
right.
Very standard sort of traditional information flow in that respect, as opposed to something, I also read uh I read Death in Space this year, or this past year as well, and it's a little more, they don't, that one is not the best example of the OSR sort of splatterpunk layout style because it's a little more sci-fi, rigid columns, text box, but
Mhm.
it is not as concerned with like the sort of standard sort of like square edges and whatever, So anyway, I don't know
Yeah.
that I should cut this whole part out. I don't even know what I'm asking.
No,
No,
it's
no, no.
fine.
I think like for so like Candleberry, which Kelsey wrote, is like a lot more like it's very small in scope, a little bit traditional, and it is like both plot wise and reading through it wise, it is like kind of linear. Like there's this section at the back called Impending Tragedies. It's like this is what happens whenever if your characters don't do anything. And then it is very much like here's like a map and here's like all of the NPCs, and it's very approachable from that way. So it's kind of like the direct opposite of Glimmer's Rim, which is like much more wide and open. But in talking about like layout, like Hinterlight is a really interesting beast because in that game is meant to like for the ritual portion of the game, which is like the kind of the big selling point is like the active collaboration world building bit. That is a book that's meant to be passed around the table. So it's really not like, oh, start from this heading kind of deal. Like it can be that in some ways, but the the a book of the or the layout of the book is meant to aesthetically represent like the top of the table of a ritual. So everything is like diegetic, where you have like the journal that the dead adventurers like used, like flipped open to say like, oh, read like look at this journal and read this table in this journal to tell you like the details of the trees that killed you or whatever. So in passing it around, like it's you have the additional layer of the sequence of information that you're getting, as well as like being able to pass it around. And so instead of being like read this heading, I'd be like, okay, let's find out. Let's like read this journal and find out like about the trees that killed the people or whatever. So it's the process of like sequencing information, but also split up around a table is like a wild thing to tackle, and that makes it very fun, and it's its own challenge. And I think that that is like that accessibility is a thing that, especially in recent years, we care a whole lot about. So that is like it is kind of its own thing in regards to layout. I don't know a lot of
Yeah.
other stuff that's doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I know of at least one other game where it is sort of like that exact same theme of like you are cultists and you are passing around the
Okay.
actual physical book, but like it's like supposed to be stanzas of a hymn or something, and so you're passing it around to each read stuff that makes the thing happen or whatever. And yeah, by like that's our
What is this
Woodland
book?
Gods by Robert Turk of Wicked Clever Games. But like I talked to him about like how that very thing about how like you couldn't have a bunch of illustrations in there because that interrupts the like usability as this product that you
Yeah.
pass around the table. And he was told, he anyway, the conversation I had with him was about that very thing, about how to make it this item that then becomes part of the thing you're doing. And so there's at least that out there. I'm sure there are others. I don't know if you noticed, there's a lot of games out there.
There are,
Um,
yes.
so
Yeah.
I want to, we've talked about we got into this very niche area of the Hinterlight, talking about that product. So I want to kind of take a broader view of it. What is it? Like you've talked about it being a ritual, you've talked about it being like the beginning of a campaign, you've talked about it
Mhm.
being this like a diegetic item from this world. Uh, let's go a little higher. What is it? What is on
Absolutely.
offer? Or what I mean, not on offer. It's already completed. You succeeded. Like, congratulations, you
Yeah,
succeeded.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, and hey, it's still you can still back it. It's
Oh,
we're
that's right.
leaving
Hey,
those pledged open,
late
so hey,
pledge.
everyone,
We'll put a link in
everyone
the
go give us
description.
money.
But
But yeah, so Hinterlight is Gossamer Coast's latest RPG product. It is a collaborative world-building ritual set in the ashes of a fallen fairy empire. The idea is that you and your friends get together at the table, and no one needs to really come in having prepped anything or having read. Like you can read the book beforehand if you want, that's great, but it's meant to be possible for you to just sit down at the table and you're gonna get together and you'll each make your own sort of gothic ne'er-do-well that gets trapped in the fairy world, and the character generation and world building aspects of the game are also framed around you telling the story of how you died and you wound up in the clutches of the noble fae, and they are gonna like resurrect you and bind you into their service. And then there is a second section of the book that's all like, okay, well, here's how you can continue a collaborative, not necessarily strictly GM, single GM game in this world, serving your new Bay masters and trying to get back home or whatever it is that you want to do. It um, is a it was an interesting challenge to try to figure out like how we want to make a campaign starter thing, because that was kind of like it started as a very different kind of thing. It started as like this is a tool for a GM to use to make a fairy court for people to play in. It was gonna be like a trifold, and it has sort of ballooned outwards in a million different directions from there, which is
yeah, that's
the classic art style of making a game.
uh-huh.
But we found like the single thing that we were like, oh, this is like the spark of what this game is like, oh, this is way more fun when you're like spitballing with your friends. And so from that point, it was like, okay, well, then how do we make like a collaborative world building thing? And, like the classic thing in my mind, like the classic, we're going to watch a D&D stream, and someone is going to take a quiet year and try to turn that into like a campaign starter when that game is like not super meant for that. It is very much a thing that should have fog on either side of it, and it should feel
Mhm.
like a period that we don't get to see what happens afterwards. And so we're like, well, that is a thing that people are clearly wanting, is a to make a world together and then play in it, and that is the direction we end up going with.
I think this also it also like loops back around to uh funny enough what we were talking about in terms of like the fun energy of a writer's room. And that is like so much, yeah, it's like spooky. Yeah, you're like dead bodies talking about the story about how you died and like there's all these feelings to wrap you up into like this like gothic freak show space. But we also like really wanted to capture the energy of frenetic, exciting world building where you're yelling cool ideas on top of each
Yeah.
other. And
Yeah.
that we've played this game so many times, we've play tested it a lot, and it is a testament to the game itself that like we're still not tired and like the the prospect of like playing the game again, I'll be like again, and then we started getting the stuff together. I'm like, okay, I actually can't wait to do this.
Yeah.
Because it is very much like that energy that we're going for at the same time is just like the ability to have fun trying to make the craziest stuff that you can, most unexpected stuff with your friends.
So is there a i- is that ritual part of it? Is it more like is it a process of like first think of this, then do this, or are there like is that part also a game where there's sort of like you can only input into what other people have suggested so many times, and then there's kind of like you're passing around currency to like, you can add on other people's stuff, but only if you give them stuff, so then they can add to other people's, and is it mechanized or is it just like a list of cool choices and you're supposed to get excited about the
It
the
definitely
options?
got that far at some point in the design process where it was like this is like the mechanic by which you decide that you're gonna like add to something you play cards. It is like the ritual aspect. It's certainly tactile. It's cards on a pattern, and like, well, the book itself, the diegeticism is mostly like you being in the room where your corpses are being revived, as opposed to like being specifically like the grimoire that is summoning you. But there's a lot of like this is text that is like the spell this is the poem that the fairies are singing to resurrect you, and y'all are all gonna read it out now, and you're gonna like close your eyes and pretend to be a corpse while you do it, or like one of you is gonna read it out loud and you're gonna echo them or whatever, and you're gonna close your eyes while you do it. But we have taken out most of the like, okay, you've got a hand of cards and you're gonna play this specific one because you want the result that's on it or whatever, because that was kind of getting in the way. And we found the more that we sort of stripped that out, at Metatopia, Kelsey ended up running like, what if no one's ever even like making a choice about what card goes somewhere? And it ended up being the thing that was the most fun because it was just like, here's two prompts. You need to like um consolidate them together. You need to like y'all have to talk about why that works together or whatever. And it was not a decision making process and like what do I want? It was a decision making process and how do I make that true to us?
Hmm.
How does our group make these things we've been given feel correct? And so it is very much, I would say the ritual is much more of a um process to make you feel like you're doing the thing your characters are doing, makes it easier to buy in, sort of thing.
It is a
Yeah.
lot of the actual like this is how we build crazy ideas is uh in every step of the process you're more or less combining two different ideas together, like two like flavor packed specific things that might not really make a lot of sense together. And they're talking about together, like, what the hell does that mean? Like, what is a white for Cyprus bleeding ichor stuffed with bones or whatever? Like, what? Where did these bones come from? Like, what? Like, it's just kind of like a process of like trying to make sense of what you're reading on the page and asking each other like kind of like follow-up questions about it, and trying to like figure out what the world actually looks like together. Because I mean, there's a ton of these. There's a ton of world building games out there. I've especially played some ones like recently that are like incredibly fun and cool. But I find like a lot of world building games like this, like a lot of the questions feel like pretty open ended, and I feel like a lot of them feel like they're putting a lot on the player, and they expect the player to be like a really cool, good, creative, dope person to a degree. And we all listen to the actual plays and stuff, and we're like, "Whoa, this is incredible! This world that we're building." And then you get together with your friends. It's like, well, I mean, you can still make like awesome, fun stuff, but it's also like these guys are like professional, like creative geniuses or whatever.
Yeah,
Uh,
no one
so
should be
we
comparing themselves to like professional actual players.
sure.
So there's that.
Absolutely. But
But
yeah, we so our goal is to really like put some like scaffolding and get people in a space where like really anybody can make absolutely crazy shit. And it's like you don't have to be a creative genius to do
yeah,
this stuff.
I I like that. I've played like Microscope is the one that I've played. You talked about like a
Mhm.
hunger for a world building tool that then you play a campaign in, and that's the one that the group that I used to be part of, we would use Microscope. And I don't know if you know that game, but it's like a
Yes, yeah.
game where you say stuff that's true, and you're writing stuff on cards, and then you're not ever removing anything. You just always are finding more details and more nuance to what you have. That's a very simplistic, quick overview of that game. But
Sure.
anyway, it's this, and it's also ordered. Like, think this happened, then this happened, then this happened is the way you're laying out the cards, and so that there can always be something else that happened in between the other points in the timeline and stuff like that. Um, but it does kind of like require that the people who are writing the stuff on the cards and coming up with the ideas have sort of like ideas that are, more
Yeah.
interesting because you start with a
Yeah.
stack of blank cards. And
Like I love Microscope, but I don't think I could like play that game with my mom and she'd be able to come up with any ideas. And the goal is, whilst my mom might never want to play Hinterlight, she'd be like, the goal would be, okay, well, I'm going to give her something that 5 words so juicy that they spark something in
mm,
almost anyone's mind. Because yeah, when you give a writer the prompt, what do these people care about? They will come up with something awesome. But if you give the random person that, they might just be like, I don't know who these people are. I don't
I
know.
don't
I
know,
don't I
money.
don't know how to take that word and come up with an idea. And
Mm,
that was one of the design goals of Hinterland. It's like, and that's why it's such a specific experience. It's you're not making a world building game anything. You're gonna be in this gothic fairy otherworld. You're making like a pocket universe and it's very gothic and spooky,
yeah.
but it's like a little tongue in cheek because that allows us to soak that energy across the whole
Yeah.
book and keep people on the same page and hopefully spark their brain,
Oh,
light their brain on fire.
a lot of the like super quick demos we've done for this, we of getting like super random people at conventions, some of which do not know each other at all, and will stand up and play like the quickest round of this, and in 5 minutes they've created easily something like cooler and weirder than anything that we've
Yeah,
ever
as
created playing this
at least as
game.
cool as like the coolest thing we've done for sure. Yeah, it does seem like the fail rate is pretty low on people being able to be like, oh, what about this? And I go, that's what this game is supposed to be. Yeah, like
Mm,
Yeah.
you've grokked the vibe of this game for sure.
cool, cool.
Um,
I
yeah,
do want to ask you about the second half of the game, and I
yeah,
also want to ask
sure.
about the art specifically. But while we're kind of on this topic, um, I want to ask like what the well, I've forgotten what I was going to ask now. Isn't that embarrassing? Um, the Oh, Gothic. You've mentioned Gothic a few times, and like, I, 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 I don't particularly care that like there's like a particular church style that is called Gothic, and like,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
like.
No.
So, what does it mean when you say this is a Gothic fairyland? What kind of elements? What kind of textures? What kind of looks are you thinking about when? And that maybe can lead us into talking about art, but like, when you say Gothic, what does that mean to you?
this is actually like really pretty important to me, and I'll pass it off to Robbie eventually to talk about the aesthetic side of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But I like gothic fiction is I think some of the juiciest stuff, and is a genre that has a lot to lend to games, and I think a lot of games that are leaning on that are leaning purely on the aesthetic sides of things. They like the way Bloodborne looks, but aren't really like working with some of the more gothic sides of the themes in that
Yeah,
game.
I would
So
not,
it's
having read a couple of the classic like Gothic novels from like 18 whenever, it's like,
yeah.
yeah, Bloodborne is not Gothic in
No,
that
it's mostly
respect.
Lovecraftian and it's actual fiction.
Yeah.
But like the important Gothic themes that I wanted to grab for Hinterlight are certainly this idea that the past uh can manifest as a physical haunting presence. Spaces can be a physical representation of the things that you cannot rewrite about your past, and this idea that like things can either change or they can decay into nothing. You can't go back to the way things were. You can't go home again, basically. And those are, we actually at Metatopia, we went to a really good talk with the bakers about like what's the actual term they used for the
Underlying models.
the underlying model of your game, which is basically thinking about the way like it is a way of describing the way that your game's theme and impacts the way that the game plays and what you want to have happening. And it was kind of a recognition like that is that is the route that sort of goes across both the ritual and what I want the eventual like campaign to look like is this idea that like um when looking at a space, it's very easy for a player to go like, "Oh, this place is falling apart and ruined, and it needs to change, and something needs to, well, like be new here." And there's these fools that really want things to go back to old way. They are wrong. I can see that that can't happen, and then also using the mechanics to apply that to them in a different situation. It's like, okay, well, what about you? Are you gonna let leave behind
Mm.
in order to like become a new thing? And at what point does that become bad for you? Like what point does you abandoning parts of your past and yourself and your memories to like become better by the definition of the game, where that's like becomes undesirable?
The
Um,
Yeah, I think like the other part of like the I think that we talked earlier on in terms of like what are things that makes something gothic has been like a huge part of our conversation, and that very much has been like the resounding capstone is like from a character perspective, it is like characters haunted by their past very much. The other elements that make it like very gothic are like a lot of the fairies, a lot of like these other gothic characters we recognized like uh people being like over the top, very melodramatic, like a crazy roller coaster of highs and lows in terms of like feelings. Because like Gothic fiction is all about like this character feels like he is like God of the entire world and then is immediately struck low and wants to, perform outrageous acts of self-destructive behavior or whatever. And that's not to say that's like what is driving the characters to act like, but that's very much like the fairies are like whimsical and over the top. And there are like a lot of the fiction that Tyler like turned me on to that we've both gotten really into is like the Gorman Gas series and like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell are like probably like
I think those are the two like
the
touchstones for like what makes this game not entirely serious, at least.
yes.
Mm. Yeah, you
Because I
mentioned
think
that previously. Like,
it is a
yeah.
little tongue in cheek. They're like the ludicrously gloomy is sort of the
Ludicrously gloomy.
way that we like to describe it to get people on the pages. You're not supposed to like
I,
we're not all gonna be crying at the end of this game. We're supposed to be laughing at how outrageous it is a little bit.
I've read the first of the Gorman Gast trilogy, and
Okay.
So then you know what
Yeah.
like that's
right, and
if
like
you've read that, then yeah.
that exact feeling of like, is this a joke? I can't
Yeah.
tell.
Certainly not to the characters, but
Is
it is
something that I
funny.
think that is a way to describe that series. Yeah. Uh, all right. So I want to ask you then, Robbie, is specifically from your like bringing in all that aesthetic, right? I mean, there's like
Mhm.
a sort of, I don't know, broken stained glass, like bloody handprint, sort of aesthetic to like what I'm looking at as far as the art for Hinterlight. So like I assume like you're part of this. This isn't like we talked about before. This isn't like an assignment like, hey, hit these notes. It's like you've been part of this process the whole time. It's like, what is some of the elements visually that you specifically have been bringing in to like capture that feeling that you were just talking about this game wants to bring?
Yeah, so I mean, certainly I've been very into Gothic architecture and whatnot recently. Like Tyler got me a couple of these like books like a while back, I think for like this one has been pretty big. So I got all these like Gothic
It's a
reference
big
books.
book.
It's a nice
Yeah.
book, yeah.
And yeah, big
Gotta
and
have your
also
reference.
um
Pointed arches for days.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Flying
So
buttresses.
all that stuff has been like really fun. There's also like certainly like a jaunty element to play with here. So like illustrators like Aubrey Beardsley and like Sergio Topi to a certain degree, like having like really big um like strong shapes that are like kind of wonky has been a thing. Like early on we got this mood board where like we were both kind of serendipitously on the same page of um to use as like a reference touchstone, the guy who did like the backgrounds on some like old school kind of Looney Tunes
Yeah, so I don't like
truck
I put
something.
like it's
Mm-mm-mm.
Chuck Lorre still
Chuck
like I think
Lorre.
it's specifically like the still from the Bugs Bunny Jesus the opera, like the German opera, Der Nibelung ripoff with like
Ah,
Yeah.
these
yes.
crazy mountains that sort of jaunt off into
That's
the
the
distance.
classic "What's opera, doc?"
That's the
Uh,
one. What's opera,
mhm.
Doc?
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, but yeah, I
So
know. I mean, I
yeah.
lived on those old Bugs Bunny cartoons. So yeah, those either whether it's the American Southwest in all the Chuck Jones, Roadrunner
Yeah.
Coyote
Chuck
ones, or
Jones, yeah.
the
Chuck,
lush backgrounds from that What's Opera doc, and like just the surreal landscapes that show up in like I'm thinking about the I don't remember uh I don't remember the name of it. I think it may be called, but it's the one where, Bugs Bunny turns out to be the cartoonist who's making Daffy's life
oh
terrible.
yes.
Like there's just these just strange, and like Marvin the Martian, like the way Mars looks whenever you see Marvin the Martian. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. Those like
Yeah.
just bizarre structures in the background that are sort of almost surrealist, but not really surrealist because it's the 1960s, not the 1920s. Uh, you
Yeah.
know, um,
But they're
yeah,
fun. There's fun there.
There's
There's some
fun.
sort of
yeah, yeah.
And
play
yeah.
to it almost, which yeah,
And
gives
yeah.
it's almost a wink at the camera that it's like, yeah, no, this is like it's a real space and it's being drawn beautifully, but it's not real. Like this place, yeah, it's not a real
Right,
place.
I think
right.
like the like combining some of that with also, like the comics background, the fact that there is a lot of stuff that's like diegetic, and we want people to like grok the vibe of it being like fun and wonky, but we also want it to look like the goal is also very much like I want this to look like juicy as fuck, like as engaging as a video game would be.
Hmm.
Like like looking at like the color, like how like Hades is kind of like if like playing like that game and like the super giant stuff, how it's just like everything is like very lush and rich and like pulling you in. And like a great example too is Eat the Reich has been a little bit of an influence
Sure,
too.
yeah,
How
it
that
looks
is,
beautiful.
yeah, you just get like absolutely like sucked into it.
It's a lot of
And
texture on the page.
Yes, yeah.
yeah, and so like really, yeah. So the diegetic nature of it, and yeah, it's kind of a combination of like all those things are definitely like inspirations for how we want this book. We want this book to be like something that is like kind of hard to put down um
Mm.
aesthetically. Yeah, and just maximally accessible and engaging in how it's laid out too. Like we want to have a lot of like breadth in there too. We're not really so much concerned about page count. Like before we've in the classic zine sense,
Cram it in, baby. Get all as many words on that
yeah,
page as
Right. I
possible.
it's
mean,
very
this
much
started
like
as a
Glimmers
pamphlet,
Brim.
so like you're already well. Who
Oh
cares
yeah,
how
no,
many
we
more
we
pages get added at this point?
Yeah, it doesn't
we
matter.
threw all of our hopes for a small thing out the window very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like looking at like some like Possum Creek stuff, for instance, and even
Mm.
like yeah, like we also got like Stew Pot and stuff like that. Like it's like pages that are like, yeah, there's just like three sentences on this page. And I think that that is like part of the vibe of making it engrossing, is it's just like, yeah, we're just really into wanting to make this look good, look good,
Yeah.
and not
I have a
worrying
feeling
about
it's gonna be like, oh, this is the spread. This is all the things that you need to do on this spread, and the next thing you need to do can go on another spread. So let's do that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's try to
Yeah.
give things
It's
room to breathe.
so I mean, I still have a lot of questions, and we're getting close to the end of our time.
Sure.
I you mentioned Wander, or you mentioned Jay Dragon just now,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I saw that Jay was one of your stretch goals. Uh,
Yep.
Yeah.
so I mean, I think that kind of brings. I'll kind of ask two questions at once, right? So like, there's a very Philadelphia sort of like focus on your efforts, it seems. You told me that we have to be done before you have to leave for the Eagles game. So uh, I mean, there's that, but also like
Yeah.
your collaborators are all like, you're this is all being released with Plus One EXP, and Richard did your editing, and like
Yes.
Charlie Ferguson Avery and Jay Dragon are like the people who you're working with as stretch goal collaborators and stuff like that. I mean, this is a very like local sort of energy, and I wanted to ask about. I should have I jumped in here. I'm too late. I'm too late. But like I was curious about that aspect of it. Is it like it seems like there's such energy in Philly right now for TTRPGs, or it seems like that anyway. I don't why you're living there. Is it just normal for you? I don't know. Like, what is it?
We're certainly trying as hard as we can to make it even more so, but yeah, like we're like the fact that like Tony's coffee shop is a 30-minute drive away. If we wanted to do something physically with Charlie, we'd have to drive like an hour. Jay's house is very close as well. Like yeah, like these are people that we know and can share physical space with if we want to make stuff with them. And then obviously we have some collaborators that are not from Philly here. But I mean, yeah, we've got a lot. We have even more than you named that are in the area. I think there's at least a couple more folks that are like
Quinn is in New
Twins
Jersey.
in Jersey, like right over the bridge. It's like, yeah. So, um,
That is what like one of the like what we moved from Memphis to Philly like about 4 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, something like that.
yeah,
And a big reason we did that was for the music scene.
yeah. We
Uh,
don't make a lot of music now, unfortunately.
but it was almost a happy ad. We were like, yeah, there's probably gonna be like a lot of cool game stuff there. It'll be bigger than Memphis for sure. It's kind of like a happy accident we got here, and it's like, oh shit, there's a very thriving TTRPG industry.
We
I don't
looked at
even
packs for
think,
the first time, and it was like, oh, you're from Philly. Oh, you're from like Lancaster. Okay, like
yeah.
there's like we met like four people that were like, oh yeah, no, you are a name here and being very kind to us, and also I can like go to your house if I want to. Um,
There's also like me and Kelsey used to do like a lot of farmers markets, and we're trying to do that more. But like here, yeah, you can just bring some tabletop zines to farmers markets, and
People buy
people
it.
people buy the shit out of them. And it's not like, a lot of people are like, yeah, I know what D&D is, but tell me more about whatever this is. Like they're
Yeah.
not necessarily gonna know what we're serving per se, but also a fair amount of people are like, oh, I know like Apocalypse World or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
like where we're from in like Memphis, like it is that is a very, very tall order for a lot of people to like
Yeah.
know about any of that stuff. I mean, circling back to like the comics side of things, even for making indie comics, like if I'm not drawing Spider-Man fan art, then what the fuck am I doing? It's like so that
I mean,
has
people do like the Spider-Man.
they
They
do.
love him. He's
Spider-Man's cool.
he's a spidering man,
But
so
I
it's
want to do
great.
other stuff.
Yeah. Uh,
Uh,
but
all
yeah,
right.
Philly rock for
Anyway,
games.
No,
yeah,
I mean
sorry.
it's great. Like it's you know, yeah, I mean, I just noticed, right? It's like the Philly
Yeah,
seems to be happening right now. So congrats on that. Keep yeah. Um, so I want to go back to talking about Hinterlight, and I have one more question. Well, a couple questions that relate to like the second half of the book, right? So what, and kind of we started talking about OSR a lot. We were mentioning that, and you just mentioned like people know what D&D is. So like you've got this ritual, you've created your characters, like great, I'm bound to Lord, you know I don't know, Lord Pugnose wants to reconstitute his like swamp empire, and I've become his avatar somehow, and like I owe him a debt of because he raised me from the dead, and now I got to wear the like, fine, crushed leather swamp suit everywhere, and like just leave puddle, like whatever you make in the
you got
ritual,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, yep, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if this is the vibe you're going for, but anyway,
No,
like
that's
You're certainly in the
yeah,
zone.
yeah, for sure.
so like we've done all that, we've had fun, it was a great time. So then, how what percentage of the book are we through now? Is there like how much at the end is the like, and then here's how you make that into a campaign? Like, what is that part of the book?
So we're shooting, obviously. So we the second half is the thing that is more, we are still working on making it what it needs to be. We're shooting for like sort of a 60-40% of the book thing where the ritual is the 60 because it is this lavishly built like process where you are passing it around the table, and the second half is more like this is a tool set and some rules and a game in here that you're going to use however you need to, and it's going to be laid out a little bit more standardly, visually, like a referenceable document more than a document that's meant to be experienced page by page. And obviously, like so, like we were talking about when we were talking about Philly, like we're working with Tony, we're working with Richard, and they have been so extremely valuable in like making this game good, both the ritual and the nascent mechanics, this like polished thing that is the thing that we've been looking at. And we definitely like we're publishing through Plus One, and obviously like I said, I went from trad games to OSR, and then from OSR I branched out into like all of the other like story game stuff. Like I am equal interest in all of the weird indie spheres. And one of the cool things that really made me, when I first met Tony, he gave me a copy of Through the Void, and I was like, this is like a really interesting blend of like what makes OSR and like story game stuff good and cool. And I have always been somewhat skeptical of the idea that there is this like unbreachable divide between these two ways of playing. I think that you can do narratively interesting stuff while also being like rules are simple. It should be about solving the problem sort of things. And so all of that combined with the fact that like Plus One's publishing our book and their logo's gonna be the cover, we were like, we want the ritual to be like, I want to, if you want to go, I want to take this, I want to run with trophy gold. It should be able to be done with that. There should be tools that are just like, here's how you make a quote unquote dungeon for this game, and you can graph that onto whatever vaguely dark fantasy game you want to. But we also wanted to have a rule set in there, so we are doing it is like a down we go hack that is card based and specifically interested in um the fact that you're already a dead person, you've been resurrected, and now you are becoming more and more fey as time passes, and like the choice to abandon power in order to retain your humanity is like a mechanically important part of that game. because like death is not important, and that is sort of like the like if you die in the game, you can be resurrected and you're gonna get more fairy every time you do it, or you can choose to like suffer a bit and lose some access to fairy stuff to like not die in the first place to like carry on because you're basically like a Victorian zombie. Um, and the I'm jumping around a bit, but like the aspects, the four aspect old school, like okay, down we go. There you've got four abilities, and they are like the four D&D zero-y fucking classes thing. And okay, and through the void, they've been shifted to like be things that feel like almost, like the different kinds of dudes from alien movies, Alien or Aliens. And so we were like, okay, well that makes it really easy to be like, we have these fairies that are melodramatic, inhuman, kind of anti-reason, and if we
Hmm.
make it so that like acting in this game is presented through the lens of like uh aligning your own like humors, your own personal shit with the way that fairies think, and be like, okay, well then there's these like four aspects of like the way that fairies are and kind of the way that humans aren't, and we can flavor those the way that like in my mind like gothic heroes act, like extremely emotional, concerned with the past, or like scheming and plotting and very patient and but like merciless and cruel. And if we can like have those be the ways by which you need to act in the game, and that like is sort of the classic almost PBTA way of being like,
Yeah.
here's the things you need to be concerned about your character doing in order to like match this generic idea or whatever.
Also, like on a meta level as well, like the thing that we want to keep being true throughout the campaign is like the thing that makes Hinterlight unique, which is like spending as much time at the table as possible, collaborating with your friends. Like there are elements of like you are a kind of creating the path that is immediately in front of you as you walk it. So there will be like more opportunities for collaboration. It's all about like offloading the GM's responsibility. So one of the aspects we talked about for this game is maybe like taking turns who is going to like
Right, a
represent
rotating
them.
GM thing, because there's like one of the balances we really want in this game is like you're going to be spending some time like in the fairies courts doing courtly intrigue shit, and then you're also
Mm.
going out into the forest and like exploring the ruins of this dead empire and trying to like bring them to some useful purpose again or whatever. And so like one of the vibes like, yeah, everyone gets to spend time in court. One of you is gonna like leave your character here and they're going to be trying to do something, and then you're going to run a session for your friends as they go out into the world, and then there's going to be a moment at the because we want phase plays was like a thing that we wanted to like have it, because that's a thing that you can take and you can bring into another system. It's like, okay, well this is like what happens when you're in court, this is what happens when you're traveling, this is what happens when you're like adventuring, this is what happens when you're trying to rest. And so like as if you look at that as like a V with the resting at the center of the adventure, like okay, now these characters that are out doing stuff, they're chilling, and they've like done their all of the sort of mechanical things they need to look at rest. Now we're gonna sort of like flip the page, and these three people are going to be like the fairies that are trying to get in the way of the GM's characters. They try to do like courtly business in a sort of a like meanwhile back at the castle
Hmm.
scene. And that was is like an interesting. We were yeah we as Robbie said, really trying to like do everything we can to make it so that even though there's like mysteries to be solved and there's information that's being given away, there is still like equity being brought about, the control of the narrative everywhere that we can like instill it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It,
like you only at most you have one opportunity at a time to contribute your own truths to like the greater secrets you're trying to unveil, because next week someone else is going to be in charge of like
yeah.
Yeah.
adding to that information.
I mean, it sounds like a very ambitious project in that you're trying to have this sort of like the I mean it the initial creation of the world and the plots and your characters, and then like a meta story about their descent into something else, um, but then in the mean at the same time, then that journey is then punctuated by like you just talked about these different phases, these episodes, and then in theory that could be like your quote unquote regular campaign where you're like using, like you said, trophy gold, or you bring in 5e, or you bring in whatever to play your little, okay, great, you went and did that mission, but now here's the consequences. We go back to like the meta plot that we had, and then you resolve like it, and that's what it sounds like you're trying to accomplish. And I don't know if
Yeah,
that is what you're trying to
basically, yeah,
accomplish, but that's very ambitious to like make all those different pieces work together. Especially at a
yeah.
table when so many people have like the forever DM. I mean, I almost
Mhm.
said problem, but I don't want to call it a problem. I mean, it is a
Sure,
condition.
sure.
It is a thing that lots of
It's a
tables
thing that
have
is true
is,
for a lot of people.
yeah, yeah. And
Um,
I definitely come from a tradition where it was like people run the campaign, and then when that campaign is done, they're like, I'm not running the next one, somebody else run, and then somebody else at
Yeah,
the table
sure.
would be the next campaign. Um, and I think that's the way everybody, I think more tables should have that tradition rather than the forever GM.
for sure, yeah.
So it sounds like your work is also trying to encourage that, where it's like,
That would, yeah, it certainly is a thing that yes, I want everyone at a like if we can get someone before they have learned some of the weird lessons that like the most popular kinds of role playing would instill to them and make them be like, oh no, this is a thing that anyone can do, and there shouldn't be like a quality judgment thing, and it also shouldn't be a thing where I feel bound to like spend 10 hours of my week like making this a beautiful, perfect thing.
oh,
Like that'd be a huge goal, right?
right, you're also trying to make a low prep thing. Like
Yes,
you're doing
Yeah,
a lot.
hell
You're doing a
yeah.
lot. Hinterlight is trying to do a
Which
lot.
the actual like GM'd part of it, there is prep there,
there
but
is.
the
Yeah.
goal is that like there's tools there that make it so that you're never like, I need to figure out how to make the next thing. It's no, you know how to do it. There's things here. You just have to like follow the process. And like once you have the thing, you can change it however you want to, but the structure's there for you to build off it. It has been super ambitious though, and it is like we've bit off a lot with this game, and we've been working on Hinterlight now for almost 3 years, and it's
Yeah,
probably going to be not being sent to the printer until like Q4 of 2026.
yeah.
Um, so
And
yeah,
that's
it's big, it's crazy, and it like yeah, it's probably going to be in some ways messy because Hinterlight is, or sorry, Gossamer Coast is always reach exceeding grasp energy for sure. But I think it is going to be useful and cool and fun.
I think that like the ritual part, which we're like very nearly like mechanically
It's very close,
it's
yeah.
there, like that in itself was like very ambitious, the goals that are trying to happen there, like how to make uh people creative geniuses within 5 minutes and create characters and a world and like be able to like exist in it like all so very quickly without anybody uh needing to take the reins at any point, like has worked so well that we are like pretty confident like the like using some of the stuff that we learned from doing that is extending that out into like these larger goals of creating like a very much campaign, like a larger campaign, sort of like not necessarily copying pasting, but like using the stuff that we learned makes it realize like, oh, this is very possible, this is
Yeah,
like this is well within our reach now that
for
we've
sure.
been working on it
yeah.
for as long as we have. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I was going to ask when you thought you might be done, and you already kind of answered that question. And I usually ask like what's coming next, but like you're this that you're still going to be
Yeah,
your
we're gonna be
future
working on this for a
foreseeable.
while. We do
Um,
have, I think we have a Google Sheet doc with somewhere between 30 and 40 ideas for the thing that
oh,
happens after Interlight we're gonna work on. I think
sure.
we're all gonna pick a
Ideas.
couple and
I
just
wrote
work on
down
them.
an idea inspired by something you said while we were talking. So like, you know, that,
That's great.
you know,
Perfect.
like ideas are so easy. And so
Yeah,
it's the 3 years that it takes to put them together.
yeah,
That's the
which
hard part.
we're hoping
Um,
for the next couple narrow the scope a little bit, bring it down to so
right,
that we
Yeah.
can
right.
maybe get a couple of things out
Back
and
to
place out
you know, a single adventure, linear
something
progression.
of
Um,
that size. Yeah.
We
just
have
mix.
like two other projects that are probably like 80% done or something like that. That is
Yeah.
like I don't know when we'll get them out, but at some point we'll kick them out. We have like kind of a cyberpunky kind of thing, and then kind of like a more of a sci-fi mothershipy kind of thing that we're doing, just as like very different flavors.
Sure.
Um, but all those are like pretty far on the horizon while
Yeah.
we're like focusing on fulfilling the
Yeah, Hinterlight, yeah, just getting this monster wrangled is
yeah.
priorities one, two, and three until at least I can sort of pass off the reins to completely to Richard and be like, well, okay, like you've got to make it the rest of the way good now. Um,
Uh, well, I want to thank you both for being here and talking to me about Hinterlight and kind of like your philosophy of design a little bit. And I mean, I've had fun talking to you all. Um, so I want to thank you for that. I want to ask you to tell people who like, I mean, you had a pretty successful Kickstarter, so probably nobody who's watching this is hearing about it for the first time, but maybe uh, tell people where they can still get on board with this Hinterlight, or where's Gossamer Coast found on the internet, where are your other projects, where can people find more from you?
Absolutely. You can find the currently you can back Hinterlights at ttrpg.link/Hinterlight. That'll take you right to the campaign. If you scroll down on the Kickstarter a little bit, there is a link to the quick start, which I believe the PDF is still free for the next little bit. At some point, the Tony's gonna put it back up to like I think it's at $4, but right now you can download it for free. And then Robbie, you want to give your blue sky? I am
Yeah.
sadly not much on social media, but Robbie,
Don't be sad. Like it's fine. It's fine.
yeah,
My blue sky and my Instagram is RobbiABurns. That's RobbiABurns. There's no E in Robbie, which will make that people will make that mistake. That's
yeah.
fine. Just trying to head that off now. I also do freelance illustration work. As far as stuff on the horizon that's not Gossamer Coast stuff, like I'm also working on Prince of Hounds with Jay and plus one. We got the quick start for that out, but the full book is another thing that I got
Looming.
kicking. Um,
Is
yeah,
is Prince of
definitely.
Hounds Jay's project about like only men are magical? Like is that's that project that
No,
she's
that's
been working
Seven
on for a
part
part
long time?
pack.
pack.
Which I did just get done doing like 5 pages of concept art for 7 part pack. That's for Steve Jackson.
Okay.
Uh, uh, that's I don't know when that's slated,
All right.
but
I just know
that's a
that's the
little,
thing that she's been working on. So like, okay, you're right. The
yeah.
seven-part
Yeah.
pack. I have heard that name
That
before. So
that's
all
the
right.
big one. Prince of Hounds is interdimensional pirates traveling on steamships that are dancing on the edge of death. And that is the she's doing that with plus one.
That's
And that's a
that's a lot of good
blast.
words in that
It's
sentence.
pretty rad. Yeah, it's a
It's
cool.
crazy game. Yeah.
All right. Any other places to find you? Like, that I think you've said it all. I'll put links to all those things in the description of this video for the people watching. I want to thank you again for your time today to talk to me about this cool project, and I want to thank everybody who watched the video for watching.
Thank
Put in
y'all.
the comment
And thank
what
you for having
undead
us.
lord would you want to serve? What undead fae would you want to serve? Put that in the comments for the video.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
thanks. Thanks. Bye. See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.